babble a little bit to each other as the music's playing.
Is this the babbling part right now?
Babbling
Is this
part.
what you're going to put the music
Sometimes
over?
you're singing along.
Oh, yeah.
Narrating what I do. Sometimes
she's wearing her headphones. She's on it. Yeah,
getting my podcast legs on.
Get your podcast legs. That we need.
I had to adjust in the middle of our conversation, and I almost knocked over my microphone. So
that would have been so embarrassing. Who are these podcasters? They don't know what they're doing. They're knocking their mics over.
Well, now we're messing with our timeline. Well, I guess, are we speaking this as if we have
we
already had the conversation?
Sure, we can be honest. We can be honest with our listeners.
We can be honest. We don't know what we're doing.
We don't need to lie.
Well, listeners.
We already had our episode, but you're about ready to hear it, listeners. And you know what? Spoiler alert. It was really, really good. So you are in for a treat, let me tell you. But we do want to, or I want to bring up what happened this weekend.
Well, shouldn't you first say welcome to another episode of Millennial Mom Thoughts?
All right, I guess I will do it.
Well, I think I just said it for you. So now you have to say my part.
So, but you didn't say the number and you didn't say what season.
Okay. So, I'll cut this part.
Shun, unshun. All right. Welcome, everyone, to your editing is going to be so terrible. Welcome to episode 29, season 2 of Millennial Mom Thoughts.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
There it is. Yeah. The intro, it might sound a little different to you, mostly because we're doing things a little bit different tonight. So, but you know what? Deal with it.
Deal with it. You're going to love it.
You're going to love it. It's worth I know we're biased because it's our podcast, but I'm telling you, this was a really good episode and you're going to want to listen to it.
But before you get to the part that you're going to love, you got to listen to the part that you're going to endure because Jordan wants
It's more than just endure.
What?
I want to talk about the birthday party.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Ellen has a 1-year-old.
I have a 1-year-old. She was
so happy the whole time. She was waving to everyone. She was throwing lots of food. I will say she's got good aim.
I mean, I think she's doing all the 1-year-old things.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's nice that no matter who is and isn't in the house, when I carry her down the stairs, will always do just like a princess wave, like to the wall, to the stairs, to the dog, so then when there were all these people, she was just, her wrist probably got a little tired. Lots of waves.
With her little teeth.
Her little teeth, all 4 of them. Smile. I know. Literally, if you say the word cheese, like regardless of context, she cheese.
Yeah.
And nice. I've caught myself where I'm like just talking about cheese, which might be surprising in a home of former,
I was going to say
former vegans.
Former / current / testing it out.
Eat eggs, but Mitch still doesn't do dairy, but I kind of do dairy. I don't know if I had the vegan or non-vegan macaroni and cheese. Yeah. it was a blur. So I don't even know what mac I was grabbing, but it was
good regardless.
A perfect party, honestly.
Yeah. Like, I love the little craft area that you set up. That was so fun. Lily and Camden took full advantage of coloring on the craft paper on the table.
I figured that was a good multi-age, because we had kids from 6 months old to 11 ? Yeah, I should know this. 11. So I figured, who doesn't love, and grown-ups too, go crazy. Just put out, it's Valentine's Day. You can make Valentines. You can decorate a little flower pot. You can,
which I'm realizing now I just left on
Did you? Do you want it? Because there was at least 1 or 2 that
they're probably Camden and Lily's, which I noticed, like, you wrote everybody's name.
I did.
On their little
that part was a lot cuter in my mind, but that's okay.
No, it was very cute.
Oh, okay.
It was very sweet, very thoughtful.
No.
Very, very thoughtful. So that was fun. Camden was very excited to give his card to Violet.
I don't think I saw that card until later. I don't know.
He wrote it
because it was on my mantle, and I found it last night and was like, this is the cutest thing ever. I'm pretty sure, did he draw like a flower in a vase? I was trying to decipher some of the
inside pictures are like alien-y creatures.
Love it.
He's got a very specific it's not a stick figure. It's almost spider-ish
Hmm.
looking, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, his drawings are intricate
Mm.
and but I wrote out what he wanted to say so that he could look at
Oh,
it and then write it
that's
himself.
wonderful. Yeah.
So he made his own little card.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that was a really fun party.
Hanging out
That
with
was
Lily.
yeah,
We got to
at
eat
one
lunch
point I looked,
together.
yeah, she ate lunch and was very particular about what she wanted to eat at
Mhm.
times and when she asked for things, and then I gave her the things that she asked for and she said, "No, thank you." So, like, okay, I guess we're in
Uh-huh.
this phase. But I like that I looked over at one point and you had handed her a box and she was helping you unwrap it when
Oh,
Violet was
yes,
opening
she
presents.
was. Yes, she
And
was. Violet wasn't
she's
interested.
meticulous
I know.
about,
I was like,
and she
okay,
would
hurry this
hand
up,
you,
kid. I'm
no,
it's
she does
1:30.
one
We're
little piece at a time. Yeah, it was past her nap time. I was amazed that
yeah,
she fell
yeah.
asleep in the car on the way home.
Oh,
So,
nice.
but yay, job
Yeah.
well done.
Thank you. And the
Very,
cookies
very
turned out
sweet.
great. If I can
It
give my own
did.
pat on the back,
You
I
should.
I just ate one prior to recording our podcast from a little extra sugar buzz.
As you
And
should.
yeah,
Yes.
unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to make those again for as I shouldn't say traumatizing of an experience, but it was an emotional roller coaster of
I
making
bet.
and mostly decorating
Yeah.
sugar cookies. But they
Well,
were
you
really
did a lovely
yummy and
job.
kind of cute.
They
And
were
thank
very
you.
cute. It was
Now,
all wonderful. Decorations, the whole thing. It was, as the kids say, it was a vibe.
was it
The
a
kids say that.
oh,
The
I
kids say
don't
that.
know. I don't know any
You know?
kids other than the 6-month-old to 11-year-olds that were in my
I
house,
mean, you
but
have
they don't
nieces.
talk to me.
They
I
probably say vibe, right?
think they say
Are they in that
vibe.
space to say vibe? Is that like a maybe it's a junior high thing?
Yeah, I don't think they
It's
quite know
coming.
what vibes yet. It's just
It's coming.
satisfying. That's really satisfying. That
Oh,
feels
that's
satis
what they say. Okay.
I don't think that's like a general kid thing. I think
Oh, it's
that's
just
just
what
what
they
one of
say.
these kids says. Yeah. Or questionable. That was one of my favorite lines from did you hear that? The banner of all the little violet faces that I had on the
Which was
mantle.
adorable.
Thank you. Yeah, wasn't
Yeah,
asking,
duh.
for fishing for any compliments
No,
here,
I
but
know you
yes,
weren't,
I
but it
it
was
was
adorable.
adorable. Um, but I said it was like like a mood meter, like which violet are you today? So I was asking all my nieces, and one of them points to one and goes, questionable. And it was a very questionable face.
Oh,
Like,
that's a good one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that was
Mitch is
super
now going to
fun.
take that to his classroom because
Oh,
his his middle schoolers are obsessed with her as they should be.
as they should be.
So now
Duh.
they'll
Yeah,
get a banner of all her faces. So yes, that
that
was
was
fun.
very
Fun to
cute.
actually see ya IRL.
I know.
But
That
yeah,
was fun. Good
good
times.
times.
Good
All right.
times.
Well, should we
Yeah,
get into it? I mean, we've already gotten into it, but
we've
we
already
should.
gotten into it, so you're going to hear what we got into, and you're gonna
Woohoo.
like it because we already told you you're gonna like it, and we already know you're gonna like it. So get ready to like it.
And enjoy this new transitional music. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
that Brian Spickelmeyer wrote
Yes.
because he's multi-talented.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I guess we could officially get started. So I'll kind of kick us off and just say that we are excited to welcome Mike McLeod, founder and CEO of GrowNOW ADHD. Mike is a professional speaker, co-host of the ADHD Parenting Podcast, and author of the Executive Function Playbook and the Executive Function Playbook in Action. We're so excited that you are joining our podcast. I assume you're a millennial dad.
I am a
Okay,
millennial dad.
so
Yes,
so you
I was born in 1987. Does that count?
okay? I was
Okay.
born in '86, so
There you go.
we're
Nice.
we're
All right.
right there. Yeah, 40 next month, by the
Yeah.
way. Ugh.
I just turned 39 this past week.
Okay,
Oh,
So yeah,
happy.
so there you go.
yeah.
What
So
was your
Thank
happy.
you. Thank you.
birthday?
February
Yeah,
9th.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I've got a
Yeah.
sister-in-law on the 8th, and then my dad, sister, and daughter are all February 10th. So
Yeah.
Oh,
right,
there you
right
go.
in
All
between.
right. Good
Big week for
company.
celebrating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big
That's right.
February month.
So yeah, so
So
that makes
you're,
me a millennial. I
Yeah.
got to be a millennial. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
you are.
So
You are
there you
indeed a
go.
millennial. So you
So
are
we
our
all grew.
first millennial dad guest.
All right. So we all grew up with the same Nickelodeon shows and the same ice cream, chasing the ice cream man, and
Oh
at
yeah,
going outside and
going
playing and
outside.
coming and having no cell phones. And I didn't have a smartphone until I graduated college.
Same.
There you
Yeah.
go. Okay,
Yeah.
and look how great we turned out. Look at that.
Wonderfully. Yeah.
And I'm on the slightly younger millennial. I was born in 93. So,
Yeah.
I've I think I got my smartphone in college, but so it's always interesting to talk with
Okay.
Jordan too of like we were in the same era, but I was the little sister to the, it's
Right.
all, yeah, always
Yeah, we kind of
So
interesting.
figured out
you're very
technically.
young. You got time. You got time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She she was my so if we were in high school at the same time, I could have been her high school counselor because you
If
graduated
I,
in
if, yeah,
2012
yeah.
and that was my first year. I started in 2011, so the 2011-2012 school year. But so here we are, two
Yeah.
millennial moms later, doing
and
this podcast.
a millennial dad joining you
And a
now.
Millennial dad.
millennial
There you
dad
go.
Weighing in.
Oh,
talking all about the things. But I just thought it would be great to have a conversation with you to share with our community, just with some of the things, even that I've been working on in our community. I've basically everything with smartphones and social media has been where my advocacy work has been going. I've been showing that film Can't Look Away, if you're familiar with
of
that one.
course. I know it all.
And just trying to get more people talking about this and understanding the harms because there are many and they affect all of us in different ways. But with you being an expert in ADHD and executive functioning, I thought you could really speak to families about the harms that these screens are doing to the ADHD brain. I kind of mentioned to you before, I've been on multiple Zoom meetings that you've been a part of or led and have been learning from you. And so I just and I'm on the smartphone free childhood WhatsApp group, so I've kind of
Oh,
interacted
okay.
with
Nice.
you
Nice.
there as well. Yeah, you sent me a copy.
That's a busy group. Oh, I did send you.
It's
Yeah. Okay. There you
yeah,
go.
so
Nice.
I
Awesome.
did I bought a copy of your book first, and then now I'm looking forward to gifting it to someone, the copy that you sent me.
Beautiful.
So thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
doing
much.
that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Um, and then I've also listened to your podcast as well. Um, and then I know Helen, you kind of became familiar with via,
Yeah, through
via me
you.
through.
But I've been listening to the podcast and yeah, I'm just excited to be in conversation today and to learn from
Oh,
you.
thank you so much. Hope you
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, can you just talk about what brought you to what you're doing today? Helen and I have kind of shared our journeys to education and, where we are professionally. So can you talk about like what brought you to being this ADHD specialist, and
Sure.
how you got there?
Yeah, so I was always someone with, I am someone with ADHD myself, but grew up with it in a time when it wasn't really, thought about or, it wasn't this huge talking point like it is today. It was kind of something that you kind of just kind of kept to yourself and trucked along and moved on. But, throughout my life, I always wanted to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher for many, many decades, very successful at it. But I eventually learned, I ended up working at this residential treatment facility and learned more about speech and language pathology and the ability to work with students one on one instead of sort of teaching them these academic based things. I really wanted to work on something that directly improved quality of life. So I really loved observing speech and language sessions at this treatment center. I thought it was amazing. I ended up going back and getting my second bachelor's degree in speech and language pathology, and then getting my master's to become a licensed speech and language pathologist. And during my very first year as a speech pathologist, I was working with someone who was in apraxia specialist, which is a motor speech disorder. And she was the apraxia specialist for this group called the Focus Foundation, which is a group down in Annapolis, Maryland, and doctors from Children's Hospital in DC. And they work with boys and girls with these chromosomal disorders like XXXY and Klinefelters, and a lot of those boys and girls had apraxia of speech, and a lot of them also had ADHD. And of
Hmm.
course, I was very naturally drawn to ADHD, and I learned very quickly from my work with these students that there's really nothing really out there that's really moving the needle for these kids. They're being sent to neurofeedback and talk therapy and counseling and cognitive behavioral therapy, all of these things that are not moving the needle at all and are not improving quality of life and improving long-term outcomes. They're just going to therapy and talking and then going right out and going right back to their screens and going right back to yelling at their parents and creating and avoiding homework and bad morning routines the whole year. So I really wanted to create something that actually helped and actually worked. So I dove very deep into the world of Dr. Russell Barkley, Dr. George McCloskey, Sarah Ward, Kristen Jacobson, and just really dove into the real research of what ADHD and executive functions truly are. And you learn very quickly they're so misunderstood. ADHD is not an attention disorder. Executive functioning is not time management and organization and messy backpacks, messy folders. It's a lack of these internal skills. So I developed the GrowNOW internal skills model. We did a year-long research study at it and at a school around here called the Stratford Friends School. So we worked with an entire grade level, did baseline testing, implemented the model throughout an entire school year, did final testing, saw great results, and really everything has expanded from there. So I was able to sort of transition out of the speech and language world into this ADHD specialty world, really implementing this model and going around and training schools as well.
Hmm.
How long has Grow Now ADHD, like how long has that been in existence?
Since 2016.
2016. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have, I'm sure you do. Like how many families have you worked with, or do you even keep track of something like that?
Well over 1,000 now. So, part of what
Wow.
makes Grow Now so different is, sort of the therapy model in America, which is not very helpful to families, is sort of like find your kid a therapist, find a good match, and they're in that therapy for years and years and years and years because it's just the therapist and the child in that very controlled environment.
Mm.
So a lot of families are spending years and years and thousands of dollars and thousands of hours on therapy. It's not really helping. The whole point of the Grow Now model is for it to be as short of a process as possible because we're implementing the parents so much, doing so much parent training. And the whole point is to educate the parents, educate the teachers, educate whoever's in the child's life to understand this information and know how to best, help improve outcomes for this child. So we are no longer needed. So we're able to work with so many different families because this is meant to be a short, productive process.
How can you talk more about like the parent coaching piece? Because it you're right. It does feel like sometimes it's let's just push things like have the kid work on things and the
Yep.
kid works on stuff. But it involves the whole family. Like it affects, everyone. So what what do you work on with the parents versus just with the students?
So that's really the number one thing. Parent training is the number one evidence-based recommendation for ADHD and executive functions.
Hmm.
And we've gotten so caught up in this capitalistic mentality of therapy, of, pay for someone to help your child. The concept of, we've sort of started to look at therapy in America the same way we look at hiring someone to clean your house or hiring someone to mow your lawn. It's just like outsourcing that and checking the box. And
Right.
parents now are sort of used to that of, hey, my child has screen addiction. Let me get him in therapy, check the box. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to mow my lawn or clean my house. My
Hmm.
child is screaming at me every day. My child's getting bad grades. My child has no friends. My child is doing really bad at reading and writing. Let me do this, hire someone, I check the box, no problem. And to exhausted, tired, burnt out parents, that sounds pretty appetizing, doesn't it? To outsource that sort of thing. But that's not going to happen. It's just simply not going to happen. And any therapist out there that's saying, I'll work with your kid, I'll do all the hard stuff, you don't have to do anything hard, is lying to you. And that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest problems we're seeing in this country. And where one of the office buildings that our our clinic is in, the GrowNOW clinic, there's several therapy offices. And every single day I walk in, I see the mom or dad just sitting in the waiting room looking at their phone, and the therapist walks out with the child and says, "Oh, she was amazing today. See you next week." And that's literally it. That's literally it. Like,
Yeah.
you're telling me
Yeah.
you tracked data in that incredibly structured environment, just one-on-one therapist and child, and that's it. And there's no carryover, no communication, nothing. So like what does that even mean? What are you doing? So we're working with the parents to train them on evidence-based strategies of exactly what to do in specific situations. Grow Now does fully personalized parent training. So it's how to fade back in morning routines. So you're not
Mhm.
prompting your child every 5 seconds to get them out the door on time.
Get up, wake
Um,
up, go, go, go.
yep. How
Yeah.
to do the same thing with homework, so it's not a 3 hour fight for 10 minutes of
Mhm.
homework. How to, deal with evening routines, how to foster social relationships, really how to be an authoritative parent, because parents are
Mm.
getting all this nonsensical pseudoscience on social media about low demand parenting, gentle parenting,
Mhm.
constant, like, thinking they have to co-regulate and every emotion is their responsibility. It's absolute nonsense. And we were just talking about, being millennials and being kids in the 90s.
Mhm.
Parents did so much less in the 90s,
Mhm.
and because they did so much less, we were so much more capable. And that's what we're seeing now with this new generation of youth, is they're going off to college and they don't know what to do because mom's not there anymore. And
Right.
they're bringing their parents with them to job interviews.
Right.
They're having their mom talk to hiring managers, because we're not fostering executive function. So we're coaching parents on how to be authoritative parents, not authoritarian,
Right.
authoritative, where
Right.
they can step back so the kid can step up.
How receptive, I mean, that's a tall order. How receptive are parents, especially if they're used to kind of taking on these things, thinking they're I'd have to imagine they think they're helping,
Of course, they think that. Yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah.
but it's
Yes.
doing the opposite. So how receptive are parents to hearing this kind of, kind of like family systems approach where everybody's involved?
That's a great question. I would say it's 50-50. I would say 50%.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't say any of them are receptive to it. I think it's very hard to hear. And
Right.
you have to remind parents, like, look back on your life and think of the best advice you've ever received, and it was probably advice that was pretty hard to hear. We've gotten so used to social media where it's all feel good, fluffy information, like it says in the beginning of our podcast, the ADHD parenting podcast, like none of that feel good, fluffy information, because that's what it is. Like, all this low
Yeah.
demand, gentle parenting, PDA nonsense, all of that is just telling parents, like, it's okay, like, everything you're doing is right, you don't have to put any demands on them, they're all deeply feeling kids, all this
Yeah.
stuff. So it's all just fluffy feel good stuff. So anytime you give someone advice, it has to be a little hard to hear so they can change what they're doing and improve outcomes. So I would say 50% of them hear it, and they go through their own little sort of self journey of recognizing it,
Yeah.
appreciating it, following the progress, and following the recommendations and seeing progress. And the other 50% are either super rigid and never follow the recommendations and don't see progress.
Mm.
Well, not necessarily, but a smaller percentage of that. Some of them do a couple of sessions and then still just wait. Like, when is Grow Now going to fix my kid for me? When is Grow Now going to cure my
Right.
kid? Then they'll go on Facebook and they'll bash us on Anonymous, and all those kinds of
Oh,
things.
I didn't even
Yeah,
think
but
of that.
yeah, it happens all the time because we didn't cure their kid for them.
Right.
But just in general, I would say far more than 50% of them are, like, eventually just are like, you know what, you're right. You're telling me what I needed to hear. I was avoiding it for too long. Thanks for saying it. They follow the recommendations. They see progress. I would say 5% of them end up not following the recommendations, dropping out, moving on. I wouldn't say any of them are receptive, but
Okay.
once they hear it after a couple of weeks, they realize, yeah, you're right. I need to do this.
But if they see positive changes, it's like, oh, okay, this actually this is working and this does involve me making some like parenting changes too.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very rare for parents to come to Grow Now as their first stop. Typically, they've been through the gamut of therapies beforehand, and they're
Oh,
like,
okay.
Mike, we reached out to Grow Now because it's so different and unique, and nothing's worked in the past. Well, yeah, maybe nothing's worked in the past because you weren't involved. and you were sold this bag of goods that someone can fix your kid for you and someone can just teach them skills and then you don't
Right.
have to do the hard things. That's it's not going to happen, especially with ADHD, especially with screen addictions. You can't
Yeah.
send someone to go talk to it. They can talk to Dr. Russell Barkley himself 7 hours a day, Monday through Friday, every single day. If that session ends, they leave that therapist's office, they sign off that Zoom, and the Xbox is right there, the phone is right there. You're flushing your money down the toilet. Nothing's going to
Yeah.
happen unless you change your responses as a parent. You change the environment. There's really nothing a therapist can do, and there's a lot of families wasting a lot of money on therapy that's not helping. They're just trying
Mm.
to check that box.
Can you maybe talk more about like what ADHD is and what it isn't? You kind of mentioned like, executive functioning skills. It's not just, hey, you have a messy backpack and you need better organization skills or time management. Like that's part of it, but that's not what executive functioning is. Can you kind of talk about what ADHD is and what it isn't? Because I think, I mean, I certainly, I've worked with students for I don't know, what is it, 15 years now? And I hear like, well, my kid has ADHD. Or it's just kind of thrown out there as this term just to describe a kid that can't sit still. So like
Correct.
what actually is ADHD versus what it isn't, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
So ADHD is not this attention disorder. It's not an attention deficit. It's not about hyperactivity and inattentiveness and kids who can't sit still and kids who can't daydream and kids who just daydream. It's an executive functioning developmental disorder. So ADHD is the preeminent disorder of executive functions, period.
Mm.
And in the book, I break down executive functioning into four separate pillars. So most people hear executive functions and they think time management, organization, messy backpacks,
Right.
messy folders, use an agenda, track your time. And that also is false. So for decades, we looked at both ADHD and executive functions as this external behavioral based. Everything with ADHD was what we can see with our eyes. Kids running around, they're not sitting still, kids daydreaming, and executive functions are just messiness everywhere and disorganization. But in reality, it's internal executive functions that are lacking. So the first executive functioning skill is self-awareness, which is the first one to develop when they're young babies, when they start to recognize, hey, when I cry, mom comes and helps me.
Mhm.
When I smile on mom's face, she smiles back. So self-awareness is the ability to recognize the things that I do affect me and the things that I do affect the world around me. I have power over the world around me. So it's
Mm.
the first executive skill to develop, but over time becomes one of the most delayed. And you start to see this in the middle school years where it really starts to affect them socially. This is when, it's no longer of that like we're all friends, we're all family of elementary school. Now it's sort of like the cliques, like the sporty kids, the nerds, the
Yeah.
this, the that,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And then, you have those couple of ADHD kids that, they'll come in with their Minecraft shirt, their Minecraft backpack. They only want to talk about Minecraft and that or like the same meme, the same video, the same this, the same that. And this is where you start to hear ADHD boys and ADHD girls say, "Oh, I can't be friends with him. We have nothing in common," because they
Hmm.
only want to be friends with direct clones of themselves, basically, because they don't understand sort of that self-awareness piece. So self-awareness, number two, is self-regulation. So it's not hyperactivity, it's the inability to regulate your body. It's not
Hmm.
inattentiveness, it's the inability to regulate your mind. So Dr. Russell Barkley refers to ADHD as not attention deficit disorder, it is self-regulation deficit disorder. It's a disorder of self-regulation, the ability to regulate your emotions, your language, your body, your behavior in various environments towards various stimuli. So it's all about self-regulation. The third is self motivation towards non-preferred tasks,
Mhm.
non-screen based tasks, non-instantly gratifying tasks, literally anything outside of their direct comfort zone, which is most likely Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft and Snapchat. And then self-evaluation and the ability to learn from past experiences and apply it to the present so you're not repeating the same mistakes over and over again, which is why I refer to ADHD parenting as Groundhog's Day, where it's the same thing every single day, same argument, same fight, same negotiation, because there's no carryover from the days before. So for years, we thought executive functioning was messy backpacks. But when you think about it, you're going to have a messy backpack unless you're first self aware that that's even a problem. Then you have to be regulated and motivated enough to do that incredibly boring task of cleaning a backpack. Then you have to be able to self-evaluate and think, hey, in 2 periods, I have science class, and she's going to ask me to take out my lab notebook. Everyone's going to do it on time right away, and I'm going to be the one person with dirty, crinkled papers for 15 minutes. I'm not going to like the way that feels, so I better do something about it now. So it's all those four pillars together that create all these external symptoms we focused on for far too long.
Hmm.
That's really fascinating. And
I like that. I like that.
I know. I'm processing.
And I feel like in my years in education, I've never quite heard it explained in that way. And you mentioned, that this breakdown is in your book, because I would also like to add to, you're a speech language pathologist, you're a CEO, and you're also now an author. And congratulations on the book coming out just in December, right? The Executive Function Playbook. I know Jordan mentioned it at the top. And I'd really just love to hear more about becoming an author. When did you know that you were writing a book? Was this always the goal you had in mind? Or when did you realize that in addition to the work that you do, you needed to write this down and share it that way? And if you want to tell us anything about what the writing process was like and how it feels now that it's out in the world.
Oh man, yeah, you guys are asking some good questions. Yeah, so like basically over the past couple of years, my big role with GrowNOW has been traveling the country internationally, performing professional development trainings and keynote speakers. So I go to all the different school districts. I train schools, professionals. I do parent trainings. So I've been doing all these public speaking events all throughout the last couple of years. So I don't know if someone from the publishing company was in the audience or someone like, man, I don't know what happened where someone at Wiley Josie Bass found out about me and they reached out to me. We did this like out of nowhere. They were like, hey, Mike, can you hop on a Zoom? And I was like, sure. And I hopped on a Zoom and they were like, hey, we would love for you to write a book on executive functions. I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like I can't and I looked them up. Like I remember I looked them up while I was on the Zoom and like I was like, wow, this is a legitimate publishing company.
Are they real?
Like this, yeah, it was real. Like this is legit. Like these books are now in stores and like everywhere. And I was like, okay. And like I thought to myself, I was like, this is not something I can turn down. Like I can't just say no, I'm not going to write a book. Like I need to do this. And so they make you sign this DocuSign contract to write a book. I did it, and then like a month or two went by, and I completely forgot about it. And then they reached out to me, and they were like, "So, Mike, how's the book going?" And I was like, "Oh crap, I'm actually going to have to do this now." So I basically like committed myself. I was like, "Look." Every single time I'm in a car and I'm the passenger in that car, I'm going to take out the Google Docs app on my phone and just type the entire time. And that got me like in the flow of doing it. And then once I like got a nice little flow going, I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And I remember it had to be like I think like 50,000 words or whatever. And I remember writing like so much, so much, so much, so much. And then I remember finally, like I was resisting doing a word count, and I finally did a word count, and it was like 5,000. I was like, "Oh my God, how am I going to do this?" And I just kept at it, kept at it, kept at it. Like I just forced myself to do it. And then I did it, and I finally did it. I was so happy. I turned it in. I was like, I did my book, great. And then it goes through all these different proofreads over at Wiley. Like they read it, they send it back, whatever. And they were like, Mike, this book is incredible. Not to. I'm just saying what they said. I'm not saying.
Absolutely.
They were like, Mike, this book's incredible. It's very to the point. It's insanely practical. We're gonna need you to now write a workbook to accompany it. And I was like, oh my God. Like I was like, there's no way I can possibly do this. And then I was like, you know what? These opportunities come through once in a lifetime. I'm just gonna have to do it. And then I went through the exact same process with the workbook after writing the first book. So now we have the book that sort of lays the foundation, is very practical, and then it's a workbook, a sister workbook that really it takes a complete completely different approach than every other workbook that's out there, where you have to force your child to sit with you to do the worksheets. The GrowNOW Executive Functioning workbook is meant for parents to do by themselves without their kids, and teachers
Oh.
to do by themselves without their students, to become more of an authoritative parent or more of an authoritative teacher, and to build that structure and to know what to do, and to it's basically parent training in a workbook. So it's a workbook for the parents and for the teachers and for professionals to bring executive functioning into their home, their classroom, or their practice.
Wow.
Okay.
What,
Yeah.
so start to fit, like, how long did that take you? Like,
Oh
how,
my
or how long were
gosh.
you given?
That's a great question. It's all such a blur now, honestly.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm gonna say probably like 3 years total, probably.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
3 years for
Yeah.
both. Yeah, I could like that could be completely wrong, to be honest with you.
A labor of
Um,
love, though, I'm
yes,
sure.
Yeah.
yes. I wish
Yeah.
I should probably go back. I could go back and look. I'm not gonna do it in the middle of Zoom. See when I first got that, because that's now I want to know, when did I first get that
When
email
did you
from
start?
Wiley.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah, it's such a blur.
But that's good motivation that they reached out to you. They saw what you were
Yeah,
doing.
Yeah.
They knew you had the book to write. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
yeah.
The content was there.
And
hmm
now it's out there, and
And
now
now
it's
it's
out there,
yeah.
and I don't like the feeling of it, and I'm just
Uh,
waiting for. I still have, thank goodness, still have not gotten a negative review. There's like a lot 5-star reviews everywhere. The only 4-star review is, "I love the book. It's so practical. It's so moving, but it looks kind of cheap." And I was like, okay, fine, I'll take that.
yeah.
But like it makes you so vulnerable, like being out
Yeah.
there, like
Yeah.
like now it's not only do I have to pick up my phone and see if I see who's yelling at me on Instagram. Now I have to check Amazon. Is there any updates on Amazon? Any updates on Goodreads? It's like the most annoying thing.
Yeah. With you having a podcast, I guess I didn't really think about that piece, mostly because we don't do a ton on social media to kind of advertise our podcast. We have a good, base of listeners, but what's the arguments or the pushback that you get from your work on your, or I guess from just social media posts in general about ADHD and parenting, and like what are the critiques, if you can even call them that
Well,
you're getting?
there's so many. Obviously, there's a lot of opinionated people on social media these days.
There sure are.
Obviously, the first one is the whole no screens thing. And, there's far too many people on social media who are brainwashed that
Yeah.
screens are a regulating tool, and they're important for social relationships, and they're good for the neurodiverse brain, which is just
Mhm.
absolute just crap nonsense pseudoscience. Like, it makes no sense. It's just people. It's just this. It's social media in a nutshell. All the pseudoscience that's spreading. So all the screen stuff, because basically I get people messaging me now about screens that are like, Mike, you were ahead of your time. You've been ringing this alarm since before COVID, since 2016, and we're
Yeah.
seeing it now. It's so bad. I'm like, yeah, it's horrible. And all I'm doing, screens, like Jonathan Haidt's book has been a New York Times bestseller for how long? And it basically
Yeah.
says all the things that I say, but he, puts it in a much professional, more. He has a much more soothing voice than I do. And he puts all the information out there, and the vast majority of people who read that book read it, was emotionally moved by it, put it back on the bookshelf, and did nothing about it,
Yeah.
because people are so scared to take screens away from their kids and watch them withdraw and watch them cry and watch them scream and watch them say, "You're the worst parent ever. I'm going to lose all my friends. You're ruining my life." People are so emotionally tied. They would rather keep the screens in the kid's life than have to remove them and deal with the withdrawal symptoms for 2, 3 weeks. So me being so blunt and honest about screens, and all I'm doing is telling the truth. All the data is out there of what it
Right.
does to the brain, the white matter, the gray matter, the cortical networks, and how we're in the middle of the worst teen and youth mental health crisis of all time,
Yeah.
suicide rates, depression rates, ADHD rates, Adderall shortages, all of it's horrible what's happening with screens in the home, video games, social media, ed tech, laptops at schools. It's an absolute
Yeah.
it's a we're playing a very sick and twisted science experiment on our youth, and it's our ADHD youth that can't self-regulate. we're giving them a drug every single day and we're turning a blind eye towards it because we're completely being duped by big tech's perfect marketing, which is fear-based marketing, where if you don't give this stuff to your kid, you're putting them at a disadvantage.
Right.
And everyone's falling for it, and they're too scared to remove it, and they would rather send me an angry DM than remove the screens.
I think that's the piece that's been maybe maddening. I don't even know if that's the right word to use. Or just I'm so confused why this isn't a bigger issue, like why people more people aren't called to act. I read The Anxious Generation, but I had been seeing all of those things that he brings up in the book for, I started in 2011 and I've always been a high school counselor. And so I noticed the rise in anxiety and depression and the hospitalizations and the suicide, attempts and ideation. I saw those things just in my own experience with my students increase. And then I read his book and it was like, yep, that there it is. That's what it
Yep.
is. And so now that it's out there, and it's known and it has been his book. I was just he was on was it like Bill Maher or something on Friday, and so he was doing
Yeah.
an interview there, and I watched that. And so he's put himself out there to be the kind of the face of this, which, kind of like you're talking about with putting your book out there, like it's out there and now, people know. And I have to imagine there's maybe some anxiety for him of like, I'm taking on this huge, massive industry and it's just so normalized and it's just everywhere. The piece I wanted to ask you about more is, screens in schools, because that's been a thing that I've started to focus on more. And so my son's in kindergarten, my oldest, and I decided to ask to opt him out. We're 1-to-1 with iPads in our district, starting in
Love
kindergarten.
it. Let's go.
And through like your work and Emily Tricken's work and listening to Andy Liddell at the EdTech Law Center, like, and just all these voices in this space and the research and all these things came together. I thought, I can't let this happen to my kid. And I know that teachers are overworked and well-meaning and they don't. I don't want the burden to fall back on teachers, but until this is more normalized and known that these are harmful, like it's going to start. That's how it's going to start. Like teachers are going to be the ones that are going to have to do two different things until more people opt out. Anyways, that's a long way for me to say, can you talk more about what the screens in schools are doing, maybe just to kids in general, but really like to the ADHD kids and and the harm that it's causing for their learning and their ability to, focus in school and pay attention in school, and either what they're missing out on because they're, they're off task, they're doing other things on their devices. And so really just talking about like school devices and their harms to students, I guess is my
Yeah. Yeah.
long way to ask that question.
So it is doing exactly what everyone thinks it's doing. It's completely melting their brains. It's like
Mm,
that's literally exactly it. This entire this is the generation of youth that had so many screens and so many screens during COVID. So the response to that was let's give them more screens and let's gamify education and let's put all the standardized tests on screens. It's absolutely
yeah,
horrible. And
yeah,
I talked about how I travel the country and I do all these professional developments. I also do a ton of school observations and classroom observations. And every single time, whether it's a super ritzy private school or a public school or a special needs school, every single classroom is 10% teaching, 90% behavior management. And the
mm,
teachers can't do it because you're putting a slot machine in front of them every single time. And it's mostly these Chromebooks, which obviously are Google Chromebooks. And what does Google own? YouTube. What is now a huge part of
yeah,
education?
yeah,
YouTube. What a coincidence that might be. And YouTube is pretty much unfettered on most ed tech laptops, where YouTube is a website that is there and they can watch any video they want whenever they want it. And and well-meaning parents like you will go to the school and say, "Hey, can you block YouTube? My son's watching YouTube videos in class, and his grades are plummeting, and he's not doing his homework anymore, and he's not sleeping well, and he's not making friends. Oh, sorry, we can't block YouTube. Teachers need it." It's absolute nonsense, and parents are being lied to. They're being manipulated, and this is the worst thing to ever happen to education, and that's a major statement to make because American education has never really been that great to begin with. It's been a pretty broken system for a very, very long time now, and ed tech has just made something worse, way worse. And it's just absolutely horrible. We're giving them far too much stimulation than ever before. There's no reason for them not to have computer labs where they can go, like we all had, go to the labs and
Mhm.
be on the computers for an hour a day and learn Word, Excel, and research and how to spot fake news and all that stuff. They can do that at the lab, but having a laptop with them all day long, every single time I go to observe a class, they're bullying each other on Google Docs. They're on ChatGPT. They're online shopping. They're listening to music. It's absolutely horrible. And teachers cannot compete against these laptops. And Google is selling us this bag of goods that, oh, kids need these experience because the future is tech. That's nonsense. All of us now, all of us millennials have jobs now that we did not practice on a daily basis every single day when we were kids. We
Right.
have to be kids. It just does not make any sense whatsoever. And if anything, the skill of the future is people skills because everyone's going to be so brain rotted with no attention.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's absolutely horrible what we are doing with ed tech, and it needs to stop. Especially with young kids, kindergartners, and public schools getting iPads, and for it to be all about standardized testing and test scores so that the leadership can get their pensions and their retirements. It's absolutely pathetic that we're pushing this tech onto kids and having all of education revolve around and say, "Oh, but we don't have the textbooks anymore." It's horrible what school districts are doing with the laptops, and every single teacher most of everyone I talk to hates it, wants to get rid of it. It's making things worse for the parent where they have to sit home with their kid and go through the Canvas or the Google Classroom or the Schoology, and it's a whole fight about what's due and what's this and what's that. It's just
Yeah.
it's so bad what we are doing to kids by giving them access to the internet. And the internet is no place for a child.
I'm sitting here thinking, so one of Helen's courses that she's teaching right now is like the history of education, and I just realized I never even asked, like, is there a spot where this course talks about like the internet joining education? And
Yeah,
I
it's
I
interesting 'cause it's not a chronologically taught class necessarily.
okay.
So it's not like we just read the chapter on like, the foundations of education from the colonial era to now where we look at the legislation and changes over time. But really it's just an ongoing conversation that mostly comes through their current events work. So, every class, two students are sharing just something they found in the news about education that they want to talk about. And so far, most of these have been around issues of technology,
Mm,
AI, and
yeah.
for these, let's see, these are mostly college freshmen and sophomores who would have been in middle school during the pandemic, and just hearing their experiences, them recognizing what a broken and unfair situation that was for them, and recognizing the impact on their own learning now. And yet there's such a disconnect between what they know was harmful and not good for them and what they're willing to do, now in my class. Because they just turned in their first set of essays, and I'm already looking at some that I know this is going to be a conversation about. Talk me through your use of AI here, and why did you make that
Mm,
decision? Which is always how I approach these conversations, and most of these are folks who want to become educators as well. So they need that criticality piece to think through their own process and choices that they're making. Um, but all that to
Yeah,
say,
so
yeah, go ahead.
so what you just said there speaks volumes. You basically said, they're coming every day, like they're very easily able to say that all of this technology harmed their learning
Mhm.
and all of this technology had a negative impact on them, but they're not willing to make the
Right.
changes based on it. What you just said right there, you take out tech and put in cigarettes. I know cigarettes cause cancer, but I can't stop drinking it. I know alcohol is I can't stop
Yeah.
smoking it. I know alcohol is horrible for me, but I can't stop drinking it. I know gambling is making me lose all my money, but I can't stop going to the casino. There you basically just described an addiction.
Yeah, and I
So
had
that's
this
what
conversation with them the other day too, where it's, we're literally just finish up this current event about, the impact of remote learning and stuff. And then put your phone away. Hey, dude, put your phone put your phone away, give your peers the respect that they deserve. And had this conversation of like, I don't think you are intentionally trying to disrespect your peers. I just think that, like, this is a compulsion and
Yeah.
you're not realizing
Are
just
you allowed to ban phones from the classroom?
it's hard to do in this space, honestly. And there are ways that I could be there are ways I could, but I would say that in
I
the
think you're going to need to do that.
yeah, yeah.
I think you should
It's
basically say like this is going to be a no phone classroom.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and only have a certain segment of the time where they're allowed to have their laptops.
Mm-hmm.
I
No,
think you would
it's
see I think you would see a completely different classroom.
yeah. No, and it's there's all sorts of, in these conversations just issues of access and equity and who does and doesn't have what technology. And so if your only way to access this thing is on your phone, those are cases where I'm like, okay, I'm using the technology that is given to me. I don't know. I'm working myself through this
It's
out loud right now,
complicated.
but it's all
Yeah.
to say it's complicated.
You can
But
do it.
that's why we need to have these conversations though, because it's not enough to just say it's complicated.
Right.
But we
Yeah.
have to
And
figure out
then
what are these
throw our hands up.
complications and
Yeah.
how do we work through this in the spaces that
But
we
here we are
have.
talking about college students. We're talking
Yeah.
about, 19, 20,
Yeah.
21, 22-year-olds. The brain develops until 30 years old. We're
Mm-hmm.
giving iPads and laptops to kindergartners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, the school district my daughter's going to go to when she turns 5, they're on iPads a very large portion of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And just think about that. Just think about how absolutely insane that is. And that's happening in classrooms happening all over the country. That's happening in classrooms. And parents go to advocate and say, no, get rid of the iPads, don't do that. And the parents get ridiculed and manipulated and they're lied to. It's horrible what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I I will say at least, so far my experience, I don't know of any other families who have opted out. There might be. I'm possibly the only one, but I don't know that for sure. But it just started with a conversation with my son's teacher, who's lovely, by the way, and uses it minimally, so it really wasn't an issue. The hardest part is that they do the testing, kind of like you already mentioned. The testing is all done on the iPad, and they start testing in kindergarten, and they do it 3 times a year. And I I recently spoke at our school board meeting, really about the smartphone ban. Illinois doesn't have anything put in place yet. There's pending legislation, but we'll see what happens. And so just trying to share more about why that's beneficial, academically, socially, all of those things. And so I did a parent survey before I spoke at the board meeting, talking or asking parents for feedback about screens and smartphones and all of those things. And one of the biggest requests was just that less reading, you know, we reduce the amount of reading and time spent on screens during the school day. And so I'm just hoping that by having, that conversation started, and I gave a copy of The Digital Delusion to my superintendent, and to his credit, he's been reading it. And that came up in the board meeting too, the things from that book. So I feel like the conversation has started and more people are aware. I just wonder if parents feel like they don't even know that they can opt out, like that's an option. Since you are traveling around and going to schools, what's it like when you talk about screens in schools at the school district when they have screens? Like what's the reception like?
Another great question. So I'm obviously not going to bite my tongue and just
Right.
say things because people are paying me to be there. I tell the truth, and there's been numerous times where all the teachers have stand up and given me a standing ovation, and over there
Mm.
is the principal or the head of school or the superintendent who brought me in, who's sitting there shaking their head. So
No.
that's happened many times, but I'm not gonna it's the honest truth. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna swallow my pride. But yeah, that's happened a few times now.
Interesting. Okay. More comments, anonymous comments sent your way from
Yep.
from
Too bad.
principals. Well, I don't want to, take up too much of your time. We're really appreciative that, you were able to come on and share with us, and with our listeners. And is there anything else either that we didn't cover, or, I asked if like I should send any question. I know you're an expert on this, so you don't need questions ahead of time, but is there anything that we didn't ask that you're like, I should be able to talk about this, or, a parting message, or, something that we didn't cover?
That's a great question. There's so many things to discuss with millennial moms,
Oh my
and
gosh, are we a good podcast? Are we good at podcasting?
this really is. I'm very, very impressed.
You're gonna have to come back then.
And this is I'm trying to see.
Buy the merch.
So it looks like the last one was swipe right for love.
Oh my gosh, that was a Valentine's episode.
I didn't get any questions. I didn't get any questions about that. What does advocacy look like?
Yeah,
a conversation with a middle school principal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Facebook is old and so are we. Nice, I like it. So this is great. This is awesome. This is like such a needed thing. Millennial moms need a voice. I like this. I like this a lot. So like it's a lot of parenting advice mixed with like humor, it seems like.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I like it.
The territory of us.
Yeah, we don't want to beat anybody over the head, but I do. I kind of, what was the name of my segment? It was like social media is terrible and everything's awful.
Yeah,
and
I sang a song about it at one point.
Like
yes,
doom and but so I'm following along the social media trials and all of that, and I'm just trying to find a way to share to families like why this matters and why this is important and why you should pay attention, and this harm is happening, and it can happen to any family, and so I knew if it was something that I cared about, then it was likely something that other people would care about too. And if they just didn't know that some of these things were happening, that maybe this could be a way to share out information that people would find valuable. So I'm glad that you appreciate our list of episodes.
Yeah,
sorry you weren't on the swipe right for
no.
Spoiler alert, that's how I met my now husband. We met on
nice.
Tinder. Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Tinder romance.
And I got
this is
in the library.
Yeah.
There you go. But this is like millennial parents. Like think of all the millennial parents that are now out that we talked about it. We didn't have smartphones until we were in college or after college, and we had childhoods where our parents weren't super involved. Most of us, we still went outside and played and were bored and had to figure things out and went through very awkward, weird teen phases, and like
totally
school kind of sucked sometimes. And we live with sort of that trauma, that weirdness of our childhoods, but we kind of like use it now to like be the best parents we can be. But we're also parenting is one of those things where we try to sell it as like a science. And that's what we're doing is like we're trying to sell it as a product, which is how capitalism works. Parenting is a product, and you have to, you have to do it. That's why there's so many parenting experts and parenting gurus. When in reality, we're all just figuring it out because everyone has their own unique kid. There's no one perfect way to do it. Your kid's your kid, and no one knows them better than you. And I think we all lose sight of that a little bit. And millennial parents who are figuring it out as we're going along, just like our parents did before us, we can't pick up our phone without getting yelled at by another parenting guru. And everything, their emotions, their behaviors, their grades, their homework output, all seems to be a reflection of us and our parenting. You're a bad parent if your kid's not in every sport, in every club, and every activity. If he's looking at his phone in a restaurant, if he like anything, it's just like the pressure on millennial parents is huge. And you guys venturing off and doing this podcast and representing millennial moms, I think this is really cool.
Well,
And
thank
it's all
you.
that awkward
Yeah.
nostalgia and everything that gives us all
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
humor fodder too, because we can't help it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
You
Yeah.
guys should do an
sentimental
episode.
about it.
Have you done an episode yet about like your childhoods and like what you got like the Nickelodeon shows? And I see you got a little X-Men comic back there, you
Yeah.
know?
That's all my
Right?
husband.
Oh,
Um,
that's pretty cool. But
yeah.
you guys should do an episode about like what your childhood was like and now
Mhm.
compare it to your kids' childhood and like to talk about the differences and stuff. And like the 90s was like the last great generation, you know? So like yeah. Well, I would listen to that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're the kind of the last one that, we started out without all the technology and then it
Oh yeah.
came
Oh
in
yeah.
later and now
We had AO America Online and
heck yes.
the buddy list and the
I can still hear the door
oh
closing sound in my I love
and
that
yeah,
sound.
and you got to do the whole like the
Oh
like the whole
yeah.
thing, like all that, like sit, read a book while you're connecting to the internet. Yeah, it's great. Napster and LimeWire,
Oh
like those are
man, I
All of it,
those.
all
downloaded
of
Oh
it. Well, and
man.
that's what I
so
mean.
many
I'll get more
songs.
into this next week, Jordan. I know we're gonna talk about the cost of convenience and all that, but that's what my husband right
Yeah.
now and I are on this journey where he just refurbished an iPod. We go to the library every week and check out CDs. Where
Mhm.
it's like all these little actions to divest and to also make our
Yeah.
lives a little. It's just I don't
I
know.
love it. I
It's
Yeah.
love it.
yeah,
We
yeah.
have lots of ideas, so we're happy to invite you back for another
Yes.
we can talk 90s all
Anytime.
the time.
Hey, I love it. Sometimes I'll listen to 90s podcasts and I'll watch like I'll get caught watching like those 90s reels of like kids at Discovery Zone and like playing and
My
all that
gosh,
stuff.
I loved
Yeah.
Discovery
Oh,
Zone. Man,
the
memory
best,
unlocked right
the
Yeah.
now.
best.
Going
Blockbuster and
down
everything. Yep.
that sharp slide with the bumpy. Anyways.
Okay, I did not have this.
Hey,
What? You didn't have a
you didn't
Discovery
have this.
Zone?
You don't
DZ
remember
Discovery
it? Like you don't even
Zone.
know what that is?
That
Dude,
jingle was maybe something, so maybe I saw commercials,
Oh
but we
my
definitely did not
gosh.
have one in Central Illinois.
all the ball pits. They had
The
those slides. They're the
everything.
metal bars, and that
Oh
you go
yeah.
down and you bump. What? Oh,
And
I
That
and
love.
they
sounds
they
incredible.
all just one day you woke up and they were just all
They were
gone.
just gone.
Gone. Just gone.
Mm.
They disappeared overnight. It's crazy.
I loved Discovery Zone.
Incredible place.
Yeah, bring it back. Who
Bring it
Discovery
back.
Zone? If you're
Someone.
listening,
Yeah, someone out
someone
there.
at Discovery Zone,
Yeah.
please bring
Previous
it back.
franchisee, please restart it based on the Millennial Moms
Did
podcast,
we
please.
just
Love it.
become Millennial Moms Discovery Zone? Are we gonna build a Discovery Zone?
It's got to happen. It's got
Just
to
for us,
happen.
though.
I
Just
love
for
it.
us.
I've got the ball pit. You witnessed that
That's
yesterday.
right. You
There you
did.
go.
Yeah. You got the ball pit. Well, Mike,
All
thank
right.
you very much for your time and
Of
joining
course.
us.
I would love to come. If you guys want to have me back, I'll come back. It could be the Millennial Moms and Dad podcast. I would love it. This is incredible. You guys are
You-
doing incredible work. Like the fact that the two of you started this and are doing this amongst your busy schedules and finding time to do this, like this is really, really cool. Like the podcast game is not easy, but the fact that you guys are doing it and being consistent and cranking out really important stuff, this is you should be very happy with what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That
That
means
means
a
so
lot.
much.
Yeah,
Sometimes I
keep it up.
forget that we do this like so that people listen. We just
Yeah,
kind of are
it's
talking
just-
to each
This
other.
is the most
Oh, I know
millennial
it.
thing
Trust
is
me.
when you can't make adult friends, so you just make a podcast, so you have to hang out with each other every
That
week.
is
I know.
the story of my life. Hey, you want to do parent training and then maybe go golfing on the weekend?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Can't make friends anywhere.
Well, thanks so much, Mike. It was good talking
Yeah.
to you.
Thank you guys
Yeah.
so much. Really appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
You too. That was so fun.
That was so good.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was fantastic.
Wow.
I don't know if we should keep everything in about him telling us how awesome our podcast is and how wonderful we are,
Heck
but
yes.
hey, look at us
Absolutely, we
doing it.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't cut that at all.
Okay.
No, let it
We'll make
roll.
that. I'll
Yeah.
Make that my new ringtone.
I want to listen to that back. I just want to hear that
So-
part of like
That was
complimenting our, because he does a well listened to
Yeah.
podcast.
yeah,
so
for sure. No, and
I take
beyond
that
that
as a huge
too,
compliment.
just really cool to, I don't know, learn more through his perspective and what he's doing. And like I said, I'd really never heard ADHD defined like that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to re-listen to this conversation, but also It sounds like somebody has a copy of the book that they need to give away to someone.
I do. Well, I'm happy to.
Just kidding. I can just borrow yours when you're done with it.
Well, I need to get the workbook now too. I realize I only bought the book. I didn't buy the workbook to go along with it. So
yeah, I love homework. So
I'll give you some homework. Yeah, no, that was really good. Well, listeners, we hope you learned something new. We learned something new, but we also just hope, just like always, that you go outside. It has been so nice.
Gorgeous.
The temperature is getting better. It's great. Not getting better. Right now it's great. So get outside, leave your phone in the house. You don't need it right now. Just leave it in there. Charge it maybe. It's probably almost dead. Okay? The battery's dying. Charge it. Get outside, get some fresh air, touch the grass. It's trying to grow. It's trying to grow because it's been buried under snow and frozen tundra. Yeah. It's coming back. So get outside. Touch the grass.
I do need to add that Violet literally touched the grass today, was crawling all over the front yard. And
she took our advice.
Mitch also accidentally did leave his phone inside because he thought he had his phone in his pocket, and he pulled out what ended up being his PlayStation Vita, which is a little handheld PlayStation that he has refurbished and uses, which is hilarious and adorable and on theme. But thank you for listening. Brian Spickelmeyer does our podcast music, including our new fabulous transition music. Jordan Spickelmeyer does social media, even in the month of February when she has to re-download Instagram. I'm Helen Plevka-Jones, and I do the audio editing. We will catch you on the flippity flip.